One of the parts that we're doing is a discussion of the betting aspect of the Super Bowl and some of the prop bets. And here with me to talk about his passion for betting, as well as some of the prop bets that we'll go over for the upcoming Super Bowl, is the co-host of the Awthentik and The Beard podcast. This is Tim the Beard Stewart. And Beard, I really appreciate you taking part of this podcast, and I'm glad that you're able to do this. I'm glad we were able to get this all together, and I definitely thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, man. Anytime I get a chance to talk about football, anytime I get a chance to talk about betting, I'm game. So I'm definitely excited, and I appreciate you having me on.
One of the first things I wanted to ask you is, when it came to an interest in gambling, betting, I don't know which term you prefer. I don't know if one seems a little more boorish as opposed to one sounding a little more elegant, but how did you get involved in doing stuff like that? I was a person that, worst case, when it comes to gambling, I'll maybe go a little bit in the casino, do some blackjack, maybe a slot machine. But other than that, when it came to betting sports, it's out of my realm.
Well, I mean, for me, I guess my mom used to play the lottery a lot when I was growing up as a kid. So, like, she would always ask me to pick numbers. And I was really lucky when I was young. You know, your luck changes a little bit when you get old and you get bills and life come at you, you know. But so that's kind of how I got started, you know. Playing Keno was like the beginning when it came to like gambling. And then obviously when the huge poker wave came over, I was big into playing poker. Online poker was a big thing for a little while. I started playing fantasy football probably, I want to say 15 years I've been playing fantasy football now. So that kind of got me my foot into the door as far as, you know, sports gambling. And then obviously with the progression of sports betting in general, it's become a lot different. It's become a lot more approachable, a lot more, you know, for the normal, you know, the leisure better. Whereas before it was kind of intimidating to do sports betting because you'd either have to be in Vegas, you know, like I go to a sports book, you'd have to have a bookie, or you'd have to do offshore betting. And so now that the laws are changing, it's become much more accessible to everybody. So I think it's become more fun than it has in the past. In the past, it might have been a little bit more intimidating. Now the casual bettor has a lot more opportunity to get involved in sports betting. So that's kind of like how I got started pretty much.
I had two notes on that. One, I know when it comes to sports betting, I always see they're going to break your legs if you don't pay and things like that. And I think that might be a thing that sort of may end up giving that stigma of gambling on sports. Of course, also always think of gambling. It's always, you think of football games, but I always think of horse races and stuff like that. And I know that's such an obsolete mindset when it comes to that. I also want to ask, when you're talking about the lottery, I didn't know if you did pick 3, pick 4, because I always know that something my dad does. He always gambles the box. He does the box, so that way you know you're going to win either way, whatever order the numbers come.
I listen, if I'm playing pick 3, pick 4, give me box, give me straight, you know? Night and day.
My dad won so much money. It's like, oh, I use this. He uses certain numbers and you know, didn't matter if they showed up in a particular order, jumbled. He made money off, and I know even my sister was doing something like that as well. So that's why I'm like, well, always tell somebody, if you're gonna do the lottery, don't always just try to hit the home run for Powerball. Just do pick 3, pick 4, pick your numbers, go for the box. I mean, again, I haven't done that. I always thought about it one time, just maybe now and then, but that's something that maybe I'll do down the road. When it comes to, I guess, some of the betting terms when it comes to especially sports, I mean, I get the term spread and over and under. And again, I might be just the ignorant sports fan when it comes to betting because, you know, to me, it's not a huge passion. I like being able to cheer on my team and stuff, but when money starts getting involved, I'm like, yeah, because then the homer side of you always starts to take over as opposed to the logical side where you should think, well, this team might cover the spread. But I mean, when it comes to terms like that, spread and the over and under, I guess if you could give a little bit of a primer on that.
Yeah, so I mean, like, honestly, there are so many terms when it comes to gambling. I mean, it's like anything else that you do, really. There's a lot of terminology that goes into it, and depending upon the level of bettor that you are, if you're a casual bettor, a professional bettor, or, you got a lot of money to spend bettor, like, there's certain terms that you want to know, but basic terms to kind of get people started, obviously. So a spread is a point spread, okay? So if a team, and when you look at the lines, okay, which is what is basically the spread is called the line. Okay, so say, for example, what's the line in the Super Bowl is 4 points. So you'll see Los Angeles Rams -4. So anytime you see the minus in front of the number, that's the team that's favorite. Okay, and so they are, if you want to take the Bengals to cover the spread, that means that they have to lose by less than 4 points. So in this case, it would be 3 points, or win. So if you took the Bengals +4 and they lost by 3 points, you would win. Or if they won, you would win. But if you take the Rams -4, that means they have to win by more than 4 points. Okay. So say the Rams win by exactly 4 points. That's what you call a push. So in most cases, if the push happens, then you just get your money back that you placed on the bet.
Okay.
Parlays. That's another big thing, obviously, that I wanted to include, because that's a lot of what I do. So parlays are when you include multiple bets into one play, okay, which is your parlay. And all of those things that you've picked in the parlay all have to hit for you to win. But obviously, the more things that you add, or the things that have crazier odds, the more money the payout is going to be. And then obviously over under, you'll see that a lot of times, and we'll talk about that on the prop bets. You'll see that with point totals, with player props when it comes to like yards, attempts, touchdowns, all those sort of things. There's so many bets that you can like. The Super Bowl is obviously like huge, so they add a lot more bets, and depending upon which book you're using to bet with, a lot of games will have tons of options when it to betting. So those are just some of your like basic terms: parlay, over, under, spread. Money line means you're just picking the team to win outright, not necessarily by the spread. So those are just kind of your basic terms that casual bettors will need to know going into betting, whether you're betting the Super Bowl or any other sporting event.
What goes into the process of making a wager on a particular game or a particular aspect of a game?
I mean, there's a lot, obviously. It really depends on what you're betting. Like some people will just bet. They're like really casual bettors. Like, with me, I put a little bit more work into it. Like, we do a show every Sunday on our YouTube channel where we go over each game. We go over, players we like fantasy-wise. We'll go over who we think is going to win and if they'll cover the spread, or if we're going to go over or under the point total. So for me, we'll stick to football, obviously, specifically. But for me, it's like a lot of it's gut, and a lot of it is watching. Like, I watch a ton of football. Like, it's part of my job to watch football. So for me, like, I have a lot of study that goes into it just off of the eye, but obviously sometimes you want to look at trends. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in trends though. Like, okay, this team is 12-0 on Monday nights against the NFC North, so you're like, oh man, this is an easy one, right? But those are the ones that kind of will get you in trouble, because eventually somebody's going to break that streak. So sometimes you want to watch trends to a certain extent. I like to look at the last 3 games or last 5 game stretches, especially when it comes to like player props. I want to see if the team had played that team previously. I want to look at, obviously like defensive and offensive matchups, run defense versus run offense, things of that nature, So just those little things can kind of push you one way or another. So that is some of the things that will go into it for me. Obviously, you want to look at, if you're doing like over under on the point totals, you want to look at what each team is averaging point wise, what their defense is giving up, kind of come up with a number that way. So you kind of have like a lot of little things that goes into making the bets. And you want to be cautious of how much you're betting, depending upon what type of bettor you are, obviously. Like I never would bet just one game the favorite, because I don't bet enough money for that to be profitable for me. Like, you'll see some people be like, I'm betting $100,000 on the favorite, and that $100,000 might only win you $10,000. On top of your 100,000 that you laid down. So for me, it's like, if I'm only betting $20 on a game, I'm not going to just bet $20 on the favorite to win, because to me, it's not, profitable. So I kind of try and find the best value. I think that's the most important thing, is if you're a casual bettor, or if you're, like a bettor like me that bets every weekend, then you want to find, the best value. So, obviously, I have a couple of value plays that I think are good for the Super Bowl that we'll go over when we're going through some of the bets. But I think that's the most important thing, is to find value, trust your gut, and just do a little bit of studying. Like, it's easy to be like, oh my God, this guy said this and that guy said that, so I'm going to go with them. Like, you can do that. But for me, it's not fun. Now, I want gambling to be fun. I want betting to be fun, because what it does is it brings a different level of watching the game. And for me, like, I watch the games very closely because of what I do for a living. I do football as part of how I make a living. So it's like, I have to pay attention. So like you pay attention to details. And when you're doing fantasy, it's like you have involvement in every game. It's not just the team that you're rooting for. So especially when you're a Washington fan and it's tough to root for your team all the time, it's good to turn on Red Zone after a loss, and you got a lot of things going on. So to me, it's just make sure you're having fun, find value, do a little bit of studying, and trust your gut. Those would be my beginning entry-level advice before making bets.
Now, this is a question I want to ask. It's up to you whether you want to answer. What's the biggest win that you got? The biggest wager that you won on?
Okay, so I got a few. So I've got a couple of good horse racing ones. I won big at Churchill Downs once. We went down for a buddy of mine's bachelor party, and we went to Churchill Downs, and they had night racing that night. So I don't drink anymore either, okay? So I'm in my early stages of gambling, I was a drunk. But now I'm no longer an active drunk, So I like, for me, like, gambling's a lot easier when you're not drinking. I'll tell you that much. But anyways, I won on a nice bet on a night race in Churchill Downs. Long shot. I bet like $10 on the exacta and hit some good money. And then I won once at the at Laurel Racetrack in Maryland. That was another nice little bet. Football wise, the most recent ones, it was, I forget what Super Bowl it was. It was maybe the Chiefs first. I guess it was the Patrick Mahomes. I had Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdown as the first score of the game, and that paid out pretty well. That was a nice one. And then I hit on a DraftKings basketball once, which was about $1,000, and that, I thought I had won $6,000. So I went to sleep thinking it said I was first place, $6,000, right? So I'm like waking up the next morning, I'm about ready to buy tickets to go to California for me and my fiance, who was my girlfriend at the time, and like I'm like super excited. So before I do it, I go and I look, and I realize that there was a stat adjustment, which knocked me from first to like, I think it was like third or fourth. So from like 6,000 to 1,000. So still, it was a good payday on like a, $5 entry. And then one of the biggest bets I ever made was the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl. I was not feeling well, and I went to a Super Bowl party, and maybe like 2-3 minutes before halftime, it might have been a little bit earlier before that, but I was sick as a dog. And so I had to leave the party and go home. And I was like blown away at the score. I was so sick that I couldn't even really like fathom what was happening, because everybody, I think, was kind of shocked at that point. And I took the Patriots to win. So that was the in-game betting. So a lot of these places you can do in-game betting. You can make a bet in the middle of a game, or at any point in time during the game, you can make a bet. And the lines are always fluctuating. So sometimes, like, if you see like a favorite is down by a lot and you're going to get a crazy number on them, it might be worth the gamble to take them because they might come back, a la the Patriots. So that was probably one of my biggest wins, was the Patriots to win that Super Bowl after they were down, what was it,
28-3, I believe.
28-3, yeah. Yeah, so I took that bet, and that won me a pretty penny. So yeah, those are some of my highlights of my recent betting career.
And now one of the things that we're going to get into are discussions of the prop bets. I took a number of prop bets from different websites, and I think pertaining to the game, and I know that's going to be one of the things that I know some people are going to be interested in, because those are little bets here and there that maybe people may not make a huge bet on, but you never know. It's
fun.
Sometimes it's fun. Yeah.
If you're at a Super Bowl party, you know what I'm saying, and you get a couple of friends together, because now it's like, depending on what state you're in, all you got to do is pull up your phone and you can make bets. So it's like, it's kind of something that's like, it's very interactive. Betting can be very social, like especially in a setting of like a Super Bowl party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and first thing we're going to talk about prop bets, and the first thing we start off with, as with every Super Bowl, is the Star Spangled Banner length. Mickey Guyton will be singing the banner. The question, your thoughts, will it be over or under 95.5 seconds?
Okay, so this is my suggestion for this bet. I would go to YouTube and I would find an example of the person who is singing the Star Spangled Banner. And I would count, I would see how long they sung it the last time they sung it, if they've done that. So that would be my like edge. I'd be like, okay, so last time they sung the Star Spangled Banner at the basketball game, they sang it under. So like, and I mean, it's kind of weird because you never really know, because it's like in the Super Bowl, everybody kind of does it a little bit extra when they do the Star Spangled Banner. Everybody want to be Whitney Houston. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you kind of always add a little bit of time, I think. But I think the best way to make a decision on that bet is to try and find some recent history of the person who's singing it already singing the Star Spangled Banner. Probably would take the over, just because I think most people try to be extra on the Super Bowl. So I typically don't do too much looking into things until like around Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because I don't want to be like making my picks and then like by the time like Sunday comes around, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know, I think I need to change that. So like I kind of start to like really like pile into it then. But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to try and research some of that stuff, try to find my edge. But I typically take the over on the Star Spangled Banner in the Super Bowl because people want to be extra.
Yeah, and I'm hoping someone doesn't go like Marvin Gaye, where it's probably at least a good 2 minutes. I mean, it happens, and if it's good enough, they should have one, whether someone will flub the lines or not, because that always tends to happen every now and then. Coin toss, heads or tails? I know it's a 50-50 proposition.
Tails never fails, man. I listen. If I'm gonna bet the coin toss, and listen, that's what. Remember I told you about trends, right? You're like, hey, tails never fails. Of course I'm gonna bet tails, but then in the inside of your head, you're like, what if it's heads? Maybe I should go heads. So, like, I mean, trust your gut. If I'm betting the coin toss, I'm going to stick with the rule, tails never fails.
Yeah, Josh Allen really should have listened to that. I mean, it didn't hurt Joe Burrow, but, Josh Allen probably should have went with tails never fails. First, offensive play, run or pass?
Listen, you picked some good ones, I'll tell you that much. I think I'm going to go run because, listen, if you've ever watched Awthentik and The Beard, I am a big run the damn ball guy. I preach the run game. I'd say, I wanted Washington to run the ball 35 to 40 times a game was my roadmap, as we like to call it on Awthentik and The Beard, to victory. And they did it for a nice little stretch. And then they got away from the run game and, went downhill. But I think both of these teams obviously have, very, very efficient passing games. But I think that the run game is critical to the effectiveness of their passing game. So I believe that both of these teams are going to try to establish the run early. So I am going to go with the run play.
First score of the game, will it be a touchdown, a field goal, or a safety? Something we haven't seen since that Broncos-Seahawks Super Bowl where everything just went nuts. But of those three, which one do you think will most likely occur first in the first score of the game?
I'm going to go field goal. I think most of the time you get a little bit more jitters when it comes to the Super Bowl. And you got to remember that both of these quarterbacks are playing in their first ever Super Bowl. I mean, Joe Burrow's played in the national championship. Joe Burrow is Joe Burr. Joe Burrow is Joe Cool. Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford. I mean, these two teams, these two guys, they're studs. I love both of these teams. I'm kind of upset that they're both playing each other because I would like to pick both of them. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a slow start. So I'm going to go field goal.
Mm-hmm. And I think that really that when you look at the kicking game of the Bengals, that's what got them to the show. So who knows? They might trust McPherson to get that, and you never know, especially depending on where the situation is.
I like McPherson to kick at least 2 field goals. That's a little bit of a throw in for you guys. I like McPherson to kick at least 2 field goals in this game.
Which team will score first, the Bengals or the Rams?
Who gets the ball first?
I know a lot of these things are dependent on who wins the coin toss and what the coin toss is.
I'm gonna go Bengals score first. I think McPherson gets the Bengals on the board first.
First turnover, fumble, interception, or turnover on downs?
Turnover on downs.
Yeah, I think someone's gonna be risky.
Sean McVay, that's obviously the least likely of the 3, I would imagine. But I think turnover on downs is going to be the first one, just because Sean McVay loves to go for it on 4th down.
First accepted penalty, will it be the Rams or the Bengals?
I'm going to go. So first accepted penalty. So which team accepts the penalty, or who's the penalty on first?
I think who will get it seems. I know it seems very vague too. I'll just say the first team to commit a penalty that will be accepted.
It's going to be the Bengals holding, trying to protect Joe Burrow.
Yeah, especially against Aaron Donald in that front. First to 10 points. Will it be the Rams? Will it be the Bengals? Will it be neither? Will we have one of those ugly games like Patriots Rams? I'm
going to go with the Rams. The Rams are going to get to 10 first.
Will either team score in the last 2 minutes of the half? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now we move to halftime. First halftime show song, Still Dre. The next episode, California Love, Family Affair, or Other?
The next episode.
I want to say that they're going to start off with Eminem, and I feel like he's either going to be Forgot About Dre or Hi, My Name Is, just because it just seems like you wouldn't have expected those guys to be together in a performance. I would personally take Other because you never know, and I'm hoping that they do play that.
And it might even we might get Mary J just come out, you know what I'm saying? Ladies first, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We'll let Mary J. Blige come out and rock it, But at the same time, it's like you got to come out, like with a banger first, you know what I'm saying? Get everybody a little hyped up, So I think about, that's a tough one. It could go any direction. You know how these halftime Super Bowl shows be too, man.
Oh, yeah. And this might actually be the one I actually tune into for a very long time. Nothing wrong with the weekend, but, it got a little weird. It got a little weird, let's be honest.
Hey, look. It gave us a great meme, though. I mean, that running through the fun house, that thing made its way around the internet for a whole good year, man.
Will all 5 performers team up for a song?
I'd have to go look into the catalog. So that would be Kendrick Lamar, Dre, Snoop, Eminem, and Mary J. Blige, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all 5 of them?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a song together, so I don't know how they would do that. I don't know if they counted if, you blend the song together or if, somebody drops a verse from one of their other songs on somebody else's song. So I would say no, based on that.
Will there be a scoreless quarter in the game?
Absolutely not.
Total number of players attempting a pass, over 2.5 or under 2.5?
So basically, this would mean that you'd have Joe Burrow, you'd have Matthew Stafford. You would just need one trick play. I don't see the Bengals doing it. Obviously, Sean McVay. We had the Odell to Cam Akers pass at one point. I'm going to go under 2.5.
Yeah, because I was thinking if there was some player that had some QB experience, if there were Niners, Bengals, I'd see Mohamed Sanu probably get a pass off, but I don't know in this situation unless somebody's just waiting. And that's hard. So I'd probably say under myself. Okay, most passing yards: Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, or someone else.
This is so tough for me. Like, you brought me on to give me these answers for a game that I really like. So I only lost one game, one pick on the playoffs this entire playoffs. Okay, the only game I lost was San Francisco versus Green Bay. I picked the winner correctly in every single game besides that game. So I picked both of these teams to get to the Super Bowl. I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford because I truly, honestly believe that it's going to be close. And I think both of these guys have a chance to go over 300 yards. But I still think that Joe Mixon might be the difference maker in this game. So I think I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford for most passing yards, but it's going to be very, very close.
Speaking of Joe Mixon, most rushing yards: Cam Akers, Joe Mixon, or someone else.
Okay, I absolutely love Cam Akers, okay? And so the Rams were my early season pick to win it all. When Cam Akers got injured, I got worried about them because Cam Akers is a absolutely special running back. I know he's had a rough playoffs, but I mean, the kid's coming back from a torn Achilles in the same season. Although be it preseason and postseason, but still in the same calendar year, to come back on a torn Achilles as a running back is just absolutely unheard of. But the kid is special. He's super versatile, can catch the ball, can run the ball. So I love Sony Michel. I thought that was an absolutely amazing pickup. Obviously, Darrell Henderson was running the rock extremely well too for the Rams, but we know what happened to him. So Joe Mixon, I got to go Joe Mixon. Joe's the guy in Cincinnati. P. Ryan, who we're both familiar with, is there, and he'll take a little bit of burn, and Chris Evans might get a touch or two in a game. Young kid, rookie. I love that guy too. We'll keep your eye on him in the future. But I mean, with the Rams, it's just there's so many people touching the ball that I would go with Joe Mixon.
Most receiving yards: Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, or someone else.
And listen, both of these guys can go ham. You know that. We've seen Jamar Chase go 200 plus yards receiving multiple times. Okay. Cooper Kupp, though, has the consistency. And with Cincinnati, I think one of the things that's so special about them and Joe Burrow is the ability to spread the ball around. If they're doubling down on Jamar Chase, or if Jalen Ramsey's locking down Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you've seen T. Higgins come up big during this postseason. So he's a guy that could step up if Jamar Chase can't make the plays. And let's not forget about Tyler Boyd. And they're going to be hurting at tight end, obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals. But I still think that there's a lot of people to spread the ball there, just like with the Rams, though, too. I mean, let's not forget Odell Beckham's probably coming off of his best game as a Ram. And shout out to Odell Beckham. I'm a big Odell Beckham fan. I'm glad to see him doing well and performing well and getting a chance to play in the Super Bowl. There's so many storylines in this Super Bowl. It gets crazy. But I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp just because of the pure consistency so far this season.
Gatorade color: will it be a combination of lime green and yellow? Will it be clear or water? Will it be red or pink, blue, orange, or purple? I know there's so many options to choose from. I don't know where they would go when it comes to the Gatorade color.
Okay. So what's crazy about this is my fiance's mother wanted me to place a bet for her last Super Bowl on the Gatorade color. And when I went to go place the bet at the sports book, it had been taken off of the board, which sucked. But so that's another thing too. You got to keep your eye on. Some of these bets might get taken off the board, so definitely keep your eye on whichever book that you're using. Now, for me, if I think the Bengals are going to win, I would go back and watch as much Bengals sideline footage as possible this season and see what color Gatorade they're drinking. So if I think the Rams are going to win, I would go back and look at some sideline footage and see what color Gatorade they're drinking. Now, for me, I'm an old school guy, okay? So, we had orange and we had lime. Those were our two colors. But these days, you never know. I'm going to go orange. I'm going to go orange. Let's keep it old school. I'm going to go orange.
Will either team score in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter?
Yes. Yes.
Total combined points over 48.5 or under 48.5?
This has been one of the toughest things for me to decide. I've been leaning more and more towards the under for this game. Now I think it's going to be close. I just don't know if it feels like a gamble to take the under with these two offenses. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals defense is very underrated. I think more people now, because they're in the Super Bowl, have taken notice of their defense. And obviously the Rams have, stud after stud after stud on their defense. I'm going to take the under. What a gamble.
Who's the Super Bowl MVP? Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, or someone else?
Okay. So if you were looking for a value pick for MVP, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, I think his odds are, I want to say 40-1. I think that's what it is. I could be mistaken, but Joe Mixon's value is very good. I think Joe Mixon has an opportunity. If you want to go outside of the quarterback, okay, and you're looking to get more bang for your buck, I would go with Joe Mixon. Then I'd maybe go Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp. And then if I had to pick a quarterback, because I think I'm going to go with Joe Burrow for MVP. If I'm looking for like a, not necessarily a crazy underdog, I'm going to go Joe Burrow.
Who wins? Rams, Bengals?
I have been picking the Bengals every week. And I was talking about the Bengals at one point in the middle of the season. I said to my co-host, Awthentik, I said, man, this is a team, man. This is a team. They had some huge wins in the middle of the year. And I just think it's tough for me because, like I said, I really love the storylines. You can't lose, okay? If the Rams win, Matthew Stafford gets his ring. Sean McVay gets his ring. Odell Beckham gets his ring. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. The stories, just to see those guys get their ring would be crazy. And then Joe Burrow, I mean, the kid would be the first person ever to win the Heisman Trophy, the national championship, and the Super Bowl. Nobody's ever done that before at quarterback position. So, and to do it in his second year, didn't even play a full first year. His knee got torn up. The kid's been getting sacked 50-plus times this year. And I just, Jamar Chase, don't forget, in the preseason, everybody was like, oh, my God, Jamar Chase, he's dropping all these passes, and he said the ball's different than what it was in college, and everybody was making this big deal about it. Now everybody's like, oh, my God, Jamar Chase. And it's just like, yeah, you can't lose with whoever wins this game, and I think that's what makes this Super Bowl so special. But I, unfortunately, have to continue to ride with the Bengals. I've been riding with the Bengals every week. I'm going to continue. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win by a final score of 24-23.
Curious, it comes down to a last-minute field goal?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think it comes down to a last-minute stop is what I think.
Okay.
Very similar to that Rams-Titans game, but not going for a touchdown, obviously. But that's the Super Bowl I'll always remember. I want to say it was Kevin Dyson who reached for the goal line with the football against the Rams, and he came up just inches short. That was an amazing Super Bowl. But yeah, I think it comes down to a last-minute stop.
Honestly, when it comes to all the things that people can bet on, there is a plethora of them, and I know that no one can say, well, I don't know how to do all this stuff, or I'm not sure what to bet on or what to do. Like you said, it's going to be a fun little thing to do, and there's plenty of options. Anything else that you want to add to this conversation about betting and the Super Bowl and everything else that I haven't touched on that you think the listeners out there will be interested in?
Like I said, I think it's important to have fun, and there are tons of options out there, so obviously depending on what the state that you live in, if you're looking to just do like some over-unders, no matter what states you live in, I believe you can use like an app like Underdog where you can kind of just pick the over-unders on the players, and it's not considered like gambling. So like you're allowed to do it in, whichever state that you're in. So that's something that's cool to kind of keep your eye on. Like I said, I like Evan McPherson possibly to kick more than 2 field goals in this game. I love Joe Mixon in this game. I would look at some of the like low end total numbers. So like, if you maybe like Tyler Boyd, like look at his yards over under are, like it's easy to get drawn into like the glamour plays and the big names and the big numbers. So sometimes you might want to just look at, some of the smaller numbers, because those ones can feel more easily obtainable when you're watching the game. And also don't forget about doing in-game betting, like, because the numbers are always changing when the game is going on. So if you like a team to come back, take them in the middle of the game. It might pay off, a la what happened with me with the Patriots and the Falcons game. So those are just some of the things to keep your eye on. But most importantly, we're not professional gamblers. Those guys who are professional gamblers, praise to them, because I don't know how you do it. Like, it would drive me crazy. Like, I drive myself crazy already, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's important to remember to have fun. Then there's so many bets out there. My suggestion is always trust your gut. Just always trust your gut. It makes things a lot easier. If you don't win, you don't win. But if you lose and you didn't trust your gut, it's going to eat you alive. So always trust your gut. And don't forget, I always like to throw out a long shot crazy. Like, so I'll put like $5 on like 10 things to all happen in the same game. And like, you never know. Like, those are the ones that are kind of like fun, where it's just like you're on the edge of your seat to the end of the game. It just adds a lot more to watching the game. So just don't forget to have fun. Obviously, gamble responsibly. That's the most important thing. I don't want anybody's wives calling me or coming on my show and being like, "Why'd you tell my husband to bet the mortgage on the Bengals?" So like, have fun, bet responsibly, gamble responsibly, and just do a little homework. It's not that. If you want to try and make some money, just do a little bit of homework. Obviously, look at the playoff games that these teams have played leading up to the Super Bowl, and that'll kind of give you a bit of a gauge of what to expect in this game.
As we start to wrap this up, Beard, I really appreciate it. Do you have any shout outs, anything you want to promote, and what are ways people can reach out to you to talk gambling, even talk Washington Commanders football? I know it's hard to get used to saying that, but what are ways people can reach out to you, and what anything you have to promote?
So we are, during the football season, we are live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So Tuesday and Thursday nights, Sunday mornings. You can find us on YouTube. The channel is Awthentik and The Beard. You could find me on Twitter also at Tim Walk on Water and the number 2. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at all the time, and we'll be doing tons of off-season content, draft stuff, and everything like that. But yeah, we do live shows, and the chat's we try to keep it interactive. So come hang out with us in the chat. We'll be doing a bunch of over and unders for the Super Bowl too, and then we'll do a recap show of what happened in the Super Bowl. So that's where you can find us. I definitely want to say thank you. I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do this again soon, my man.